The beauty of the horror genre is that it covers a vast amount of areas. There are so many subgenres that I couldn't even begin to cover all of them in a video like this. Scream is one of those rare films that takes a bit from all of them and combines it with clever writing and characters. Created in 1996, when slashers were arguably the biggest subgenre of horror, Scream came along and showed that slashers could still be inventive and refreshing. While we get a lot of the same aspects we love about a knife-wielding maniac chasing down his victims to an eerie yet cheesy musical score, Scream also acted as a satire, calling out the genre for its oftentimes insane premise. For example, Jamie Kennedy's character Randy acts as the audience's voice throughout the entire film. A pet peeve of mine is when characters in horror films act as if there are no horror movies in their particular universe. Scream satirizes this idea through the character of Randy, as he infamously breaks down the rules of horror films to an audience.
Jesus Christ, you don't know the rules?
Have an aneurysm, why don't you?
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
While he is passionate and someone we, the audience, agree with, characters in the film couldn't seem any less interested in what he has to say.
Only virgins can outsmart the killer in a big chase scene at the end. Don't you know the rules? What rules? You don't know the rules! There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
To me, it's the meta moments like this in the film that make Scream great. Also, with films like Friday the 13th popularizing the teen horror slasher, Scream wasn't new in that regard. However, Scream does enough through its writing to make you care about the characters. I also genuinely felt connected to some of them and felt like they truly capture the essence of what it feels like to be in high school. In fact, director Wes Craven almost got away with shooting the film at an actual high school until the school board read the script and, due to its graphic nature, denied access to shoot at the school. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, well, Scream isn't scary though, or it hasn't aged well since it did come out in the 90s, so some of the dialogue does tend to be a little bit crunchy. Now, while these are valid criticisms and we are all entitled to our own opinions, I'd have to heavily disagree. Even though there are comedic and campy elements, Scream is scary in many ways, but I'll point out two ways I personally think that it is. Scream plays heavily on this idea of trust. We often share our most intimate moments with the ones we love. In society, dating is a practice we participate in pretty regularly, and oftentimes we don't even think twice about the person we're going on this date with. We allow people into our lives and at times allow them to see us in our most vulnerable moments, believing that we are safe, when in reality the person you've entrusted may not be who they claim to be. When you think about it, the events that unfold in the film could easily happen in real life, with how easy some of us can be manipulated, especially in the high school setting. The film was also really violent, capturing some of the most brutal and realistic looking on-screen killings of the time. Wes Craven and his team implemented various techniques such as retractable blades to make it look like the actors were really being stabbed.
It wasn't a monster movie and it didn't have a ton of effects in it, but what we were doing was kind of vital to the movie. You know, we had a few the old-fashioned gore gags with the collapsible knives and blood tubing rigs and stuff like on Drew at the beginning of the movie when she's being pursued.
Real-looking blood that actually happened to be pig's blood. But the reactions are also pretty genuine, as seen in the opening sequence. Drew Barrymore goes for a calm and playful person to a worried and full-on panicky individual.
Scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
As she realized she's being stalked by an unknown killer. The element of stalking and taunting with a victim also adds to the creepiness of the film. We can't forget the fact a lot of the stalking was done over the phone, and that instantly became as iconic as it was frightening. It also happens to take place in the homes of these individuals, and while you're at home, that's kind of when you tend to be in your own element and at your most vulnerable, and to me that's scary enough. So when we look at Scream, you have a film that hits basically on all cylinders in my opinion. It perfectly captures the essence of the 90s slasher horror film. It holds just the right blend of camp, humor, and terror, while also featuring one of the most iconic villains of all time. However, Scream truly becomes a masterpiece when you pair these factors with the expertly crafted story and masterful direction by Wes Craven. I think if you're in search of a great horror film to watch this Halloween, you can't go wrong with Scream. There's enough personality in this film to make both the non-horror lovers and seasoned horror vets enjoy this one. And for that, Scream gets an 8.5 out of 10 from me. So thanks for watching my first Y series video, guys. It's a series where I won't just review films, but add an analysis of it or a certain aspect of these films. It's only fitting every October these video analyses will focus on horror films, as I feel like that's the only right thing to do. I'm glad Scream got to be the first film, as it's one of my favorites. Let me know how you feel about Scream, and if you have any suggestions for future film analyses, let me know in the comments below, as I'm always willing to delve into films that I have or have not seen. Thanks again for watching, y'all, and enjoy the rest of Horror-tober.